revelry inside. "Check the corridor. Make sure no one is coming to investigate the noise," Fenton urged. They had a sound plan, a free pass, as it were, in and out of the house, yet he found himself unaccountably nervous. Alfred rushed ahead to do his bidding, watching through the narrowest crack in the door. Several moments passed and no one appeared. "We got the all clear," he said. Opening the door fully, he stepped out into the hall, and the other two followed suit. They made for the back stairs. Henry's sister had worked as a maid there once, until Lord Vale tried to put his hand up her skirt. She'd been only too happy to give them the information they asked for about the layout of the house. Once on the upper floors, the house was unnaturally quiet, with all the servants below enjoying their Christmas feast, and the lord and lady of the manor out for the evening. The grand house was like a tomb. "Gives me the shivers, it does," Henry said crossly. He might have been the biggest of them, but he'd always been more heart than brains, not to mention the fact that he was often gutless. Were it not for his compatriots goading him on, he'd have been more than content to continue delivering luxurious cuts of meat to the wealthy toffs his butcher employer served. "Only a house," Alfred replied. "'Tis the people inside it we've most to fear from. Let's keep it moving. I don't want to be still standing here yammering on about it when the lord and lady decide to come back home. The master's chambers will be at the end of the corridor. You go there and get anything he might have of value. There will be coin, jewellery, gold buttons off his coats. Cut every last one of them off. I'll head to her ladyship's rooms and see what she might have laying about." He hadn't told the others about the book. That was an agreement between him and the boss only. Fenton turned to Henry and added, "And you stay here. If anyone comes up those stairs, you come find me. Understood?" Henry nodded his understanding, and Fenton continued, "And cover your faces. In the off chance someone returns, we can still make our escape if they cannot identify us." Dutifully, the other men pulled up the cloths tied around their necks, so that the lower halves of their faces were covered, and each one headed out in the direction they'd been given. Henry took up sentry in the hall, monitoring the stairs. Big as he was, he managed to blend his hulking shape with the shadows. Shaking his head at the conundrum of his large but dim-witted companion who could seemingly vanish in plain sight, Fenton headed toward Lady Vale's rooms and the riches that awaited him there.
"I don't want to sleep in my room. I want to sleep in yours. There are beasties in my room."
Sarah, Lady Vale, smiled down into the upturned and cherubic face of her son. In this one thing, she thought, she'd done something right. Her husband might find fault with her in every other regard as a wife and as a woman, but she'd provided him an heir, and never had a more beautiful boy graced a family than her dear Benedict. Brushing the blonde curls from his furrowed brow, she shook her head. "There are no beasties, Benedict. There is nothing in this house that would harm you."
"Maisie said there was," he protested. "She said there were all sorts of nasty things going on in the corridors. Said it were nothing but evil."
"It was nothing but evil," she corrected automatically. "You mustn't repeat things you hear from Maisie, as the girl is full of superstitious nonsense, and her grasp of the language is utterly atrocious."
"What's atrocious mean?"
he asked, hugging the small wooden horse that was his favourite toy. "It means awful. And there were awful, evil things occurring in the corridors, but she couldn't possibly tell her son that his father was the perpetrator of them. James seemed to feel that any female servant was fair game for his unwanted advances. She'd made it a point to stop hiring pretty girls, and instead only hired those who were significantly older or who would be willing to tolerate his advances for whatever reward it might bring them. It was a lowering thing for any woman to look at the servants in her own house and wonder which one was warming her husband's bed for the night. Of course, she was relieved when anyone warmed it other than herself, so there was also a strange sort of consolation in it. And Maisie didn't mean evil like monsters or beasties. She was talking about people playing pranks on one another. "You've nothing to worry about, darling.